Welcome to Factorio Space Age. My name is Nilaus and we are on our journey to the Megabase. And, well, we have three sciences left. We have the military science, we have the Aquilo science, the cryogenic science, and then we have the awesome Promethium science. Those are the ones that we need to deal with. And Promethium science is obviously the hardest one, so we've saved that to the end, and military science is pretty simple, so we're going to be skipping that right now. So let's do something different. Then that is, of course, cryogenic science. So obviously this has to be made on Aquilo, and, well, it's pretty simple actually, because it only needs ice, which is super abundant, and then lithium plate. So, and then the fluoroketone. But the thing is, ice is pretty easy to get, and as long as we have our spaceships, like our space casinos that we've been built earlier, we can actually get legendary ice pretty easy. So if we wanted to make this into legendary, then we could say we can get a space casino to make legendary ice, yes, and then we just need to make lithium plate. So how do we make lithium plate? We get one lithium plate, comes from one lithium. And it has to be made in an electric furnace, so we can only get 50% productivity there. But then lithium, we get 5 lithium. Ooh, that's good. From 1 holmium. And then some random liquids that are just easy, dirt cheap. And see, this is legendary. So 1 legendary holmium becomes 5. And since it's in a cryogenic plant, we can multiply it by 3. That means 1 becomes 15. And moving forward, that becomes 50% extra. So, counting backwards, that means that if we have 1 holmium plate, we actually get, tracing here. Okay, let's try doing that. Okay, we start here. We have 1 holmium plate. Then we get 15 lithium. We get 22.5 lithium plates. And then we can then make this one into a cryogenic plant, and then it gets a little bit here. It's 1 lithium plate, and then it's times 3, so it is 67.5 cryogenic science for one legendary holmium. That's a pretty good deal, right? So that's what we're gonna do. So if we go back to our original, we needed this is our target per second of science. Now if we make it legendary, we only need 1/6 of it, and if we then realize that we now need to we can make 67.5 for each legendary holmium. That means we actually only need 3 legendary holmium per second, which is completely crazy how little that is because of the productivity all the way through. So it's not even going to be a big deal to make the legendary holmium, but that is what we're going to do today. We also need legendary holmium for other things, such as for I have to count backwards here. This one. We also need it for, of course, for this one. For the electromagnetic plant. And we also need for, well, some of the other ones. Not this one. But, yeah. Mainly for the electromagnetic plant. So we do need a little bit extra. So that means we're not actually going to be here. We're going to be on Fulgora to make legendary holmium in this episode. And we need to make it into a city block design, and this is also the problem with Aquilo, is that it needs to be migrated to a city block design as well, because, I mean, we need everything to be city block based, right? Okay, so we're on Fulgora, and we have made a little city block. This is going to be our test bed. This is going to be super complicated to make because there's a lot of things we need to do. So, here is the premise. I want this to be able to be placed anywhere in the world that has, or anywhere on Fulgora that has some nearby, which means, of course, we're going to be going out and looking for the big patches so that we can basically have infinite mining going in here. I'm going to be, this is because I know that it kind of works. We're going to get some inbound, and basically what we want is we want 2 lanes of scrap inbound, and then that's what we're going to be working with. So what we need to do is we need to make a processor that is as good as possible in order to completely consume not quite 2 belts, or it must be completing as close as possible to 2 belts. There are a number of considerations about this, and namely, one of the big ones is... Oh, why is this one not powered? That's odd. Oh, don't tell me we're not... Really? There you go. Silly. we don't need 2 lanes of this, because if we go through the method of here, this one, scrap recycling, we can assume now that we have 300% productivity. We also know that the only thing that we really, or we only want to use scrap in order to make legendary holmium and rockets in order to launch. The rocket silo, not the rocket silo, but all the stuff we needed in order to launch the rockets. So we want it completely self-contained, so I'm not bringing anything out, so that it can be its own logistics network, where I put some logistics drones in, and then it does its stuff. That's the idea. So we have 1% holmium here. That means it's actually going to be 4% holmium because of the productivity. So that means if I get 240 inbound, and then that's just one full belt, and then I'm saying 4% of that is holmium. So that means we get 9.6 holmium. Then let's look at this process here. Oh dear. This one gets us 2 holmium and to 100 holmium solution, but it's also productivity. So we go again and then divide by 2 and then multiply by 100 and then multiply by 1.75, because the productivity in a chemical lab is at a maximum 75. So that means we now have 840 holmium. They were talking about from 1 belt of scrap we get 840 holmium. Then we need to take how much holmium solution that is, and this is in a foundry. So a good old foundry is there. Oh, right. There. That's 50% productivity plus another, so it's 150% productivity. So that means we take this number and divide by 20 and multiply it by 2.5. That's the productivity gain. That means we get 105 holmium. Not legendary holmium, just holmium. 105 holmium in. And then the question then becomes, how do we get the holmium into becoming legendary holmium? Because you can't use a casino ship for this. So what we want to do is we want actually to make something. There are a number of ways to make legendary holmium, and they all have their pros and cons. I'm gonna use this one for a number of reasons. But basically, if we look at it, this one has the advantage that it's productivity, but the disadvantage is it uses plastic. And plastic is not something we really have in abundance in this. This one also, but then it uses superconductor and electrolyte. That means there's a lot of things that need holmium, and the other things don't recycle back to. This one also, oh, by the way, superconductors recycle back to superconductors. So you see that doesn't work. So the best thing is here that if we look at this and we see the recycle recipe, it recycles back to the sub ingredients. So if we make electromagnetic plants, well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make electromagnetic plants because steel is something I have in abundance from the recycling. Blue I have in abundance from recycling. And refined concrete is something that I can actually... I don't have it, but I can make it. So this is our objective now. Now we need to make something like this. Let's start by making the whole recycling part up here. Or the upcycling part. So this is how I want to do it, and obviously in an ideal situation I would love to have this as being a belt, but there's just not room in this this little city block to make it belt oriented. So we're going to do this, and we have 3 of them for normals, and then we have 1 for each of the higher quantities. That should be fine. Now let's go back to this more complicated part of recycling. So if I want to recycle the scrap as fast as possible, I'm not interested in upcycling the scrap, because that just means that everything else gets really weird and complicated. So I just want it fast. There. Very fast. Then I want it even faster. Let's do that. Here. Like that. That's very fast. And then we can also do this on the other side, because they will be hitting there. And then we can also do the same thing on the other side. Like that. And then we see how fast would this reprocess. Oh, I don't know, because I did need to actually have some scrap in inventory. So we'll just request some scrap. Oh, I don't have scrap for it. Request. That's fine. Then we'll just get some here into a box for ourselves. There. And there we go. That's incredibly quick. So there. Now we can actually use the rate calculator. So silly numbers inbound, yes, and silly numbers outbound. but this is clearly fast enough. The thing is, it won't be using this exclusively, it'll be also doing something else. So I need to basically have 2 of these in order to get going. All right, so this is going to be our baseline. What we want to do is we want to get something in here. If we just have 2 lanes in and then get 2 lanes in here, then obviously it's pretty obvious that it's not going to be fast enough. But what I then could do is, what if I could sort of get it in also from the other side? That's going to be the little bit more tricky, but if I can sort of get it, let's see, something like this maybe. Something like, if we get in here and then we split it out, then you're going to go forward and the other ones will go there, and then you can go out here. Jump and there. And you're gonna again jump up here. And then we can just use this to turn around and go back in. There. So now we actually have a method to take 2 belts and then turn it into 4 lines. Because that will be much better in terms of the input. So now they can, because we are obviously going to have our residuals outbound. Here's a thing that I'm then going to do, and which might be a little bit weird. I feel that this should be a legendary, yes. So this can have 12 things here. What I want to do, that's this one. This should store something because I want this to be available to the logistics network, which means I now need to actually get this outbound with a stack inserter. But how am I going to get this in a stack inserter? Because it'll grab one of the things like blues and then it gets stuck. So I need to actually have a little bit of circuit logic here. Oh, that's a warning. That's a warning that biters are about to spawn on one of my glorious new ships. But there are 4,000 left, and we can exactly consume these 4,000 in what time it has left. It's running really smoothly now. We'll get back to that in a later episode. But let me just finish this one up while the alarm is on. Okay, so what I've done is I have said anything that is above 200, which is the largest of the stacks, will be exported out. And it will be monitoring the box here. So this one is saying, okay, it gets 1 signal of each, but nothing goes out. And then I'm going to send it out here to set the filter so that it filters anything that's above 200. Why 200? Because I want to have something stored in here. I could set it less, but it's fine. This one just went out because I emptied this. So now I need to go in here. And then it's very important for me that these belts here are even. Right? There. So each of these boxes must be even. So 1 plus 1, this one goes out and they merge into the middle here. And these 2 merge into this belt. Then these merge evenly. So that's these 4 are each merging evenly into this belt. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this one. And there. And there. So these 2 are the 2 returning belts. And then what I need to do is basically I just need to merge them back in here. So I can basically say, oh, you know what? You can just go back in here, but you want to be prioritizing the stuff that gets recycled, which means it lowers the amount of new fresh scrap that comes in. And then I'm going to get the other one going in as well. That will be... I don't know, how close can I make it? Maybe like this. There. Like this. And again, get that. Well, that's not actually good. Because what happens when I recycle the scrap, this recipe here, is that I get a silly amount of gears. So if I'm keep recycling gears, I'm just getting too much. So we have a way to eliminate some of the bad stuff so that it becomes easier for us to get. We want as little to flow through here and recycle if I don't need it. So what I need to do is I need to try to get some of the stuff out that is really useless. So for example, could I take this one and say the most abundant one is gears. So let's get the gears sorted out because I don't want the gears out here. And then we can get like this. So gears out. The rest, sure, we have to send it in, but that's just the challenge because we do need a lot of concrete and we need a lot of steel. Those were something I would also normally try to get rid of, but it also has quite a lot of other things that are useless. Solid fuel, we don't need that much of that, or ice, we don't need much of that. So solid fuel and ice is definitely also something that I want to take out, and I'll just do that in a really simple way by just taking it out from here and just making it into a little recycler here and here as well on the recycler, and then get a little bit of speed module in here. Let's get that up here so it doesn't interfere with anything, and then I'm just gonna get these inbound here. And then I'll just get ice on one side, ice on one side here. Like, it seems really complicated to do all of this, but it's trying to make sure that we run this as smoothly as possible, and therefore only the stuff that we need goes through here and not sort of all this sort of crap that we don't need. So then we need to do a little recycler here, and this recycler is intense because what we need to do is we need to get rid of all of this, and that's a lot. So we're also going to get this over from the other side. So let me just imagine that we get that in from here. Let's see. Like this. So we're going to get 2 belts of this, and I want this to be flipped like. So this is going to be exclusively dealing with gears. And gears are... I'm going to do this because this is the maximum amount we can handle. These are just going to grab the gears fast as possible, trying to empty 2 full belts. And then this one also needs a beacon as well, just to get it even faster. Let's make it here. And then this goes into, gears goes into a little thing like that. And then that also needs to get into another smelter. This doesn't have to be fast, by the way. It just needs to go in here and back here. So basically, the gears turn into plates, iron plates. This one can consume 362 per second. And then this gets in here to be recycled and comes back. But I do need a little bit of iron, so let me just make just a little one of these here. So we do have a little bit of iron. That should work. It's really tempting for us to actually put it to a test. So let me just fill in the blanks here, and then we can put it to a test. Okay, so now this looks good. We are ready to set it up, put some lights in, and what I've also done is I have set up so that it's a separate logistics network, and then I have put 400 robots in here, I think. 350? Okay. 400. There you go. 400 logistics drone in here, so that should be enough to handle this. I've also set up requesters here for each of these, and also for this set up to higher quality, because these won't be running very often, but sometimes they will be running. And then all the residuals will go in here from this process. Now, do note that this part is actually using 56 per second. This is why I have so many boxes. I really should definitely have a separate box for the Holmium plate, because it's so fast. But let's see. So now this is ready to go, and we're just going to be setting this one up and then just see how it works. Obviously, it won't be producing anything because we don't have the reinforced concrete yet. But we just want to see how this operates, and you can see that now they are bringing stuff in. As soon as something goes in here, anything in solid fuel will be brought up to this location. Now, I don't want to have all my ice disappear because I do need a little bit for water. So I do need to have this one saying basically, just leave when it's above 50. There, that should be fine. That one, and then let's do the same thing for this because I'm going to need some rocket fuel as well. So let's do this one as you are above 50. Yeah. They still request it in here, but they will only sort of put it out once it gets a little bit higher. And of course we can just do this thing here because why not? Okay, that's also a little bit crazy to do that. Again, this shouldn't really be a problem at this point with power, but I like having things with big modules in them. Alright, so down here we can see that this is processing pretty quickly. What we will also see is that as more stuff flows through, we will have less scrap, and less scrap means less gears. The higher percentage will be running through. For example, you can see all the concrete that flows through. I really shouldn't be seeing any concrete flow through because the concrete is something I actually need over here to process. So now comes the next part. We are actually going to get a rocket silo, and that can be made right there. And these can then be set up to only do legendary, because that's the whole point of what we do. Just put legendary, that's the only thing we put in here. And because of my productivity, this is still 300, and that's fine. So this is good. Oh, funny how that one just didn't get any, but that's important. Okay, so now we need to make all the stuff that is needed, which is going to be a little bit complicated, and there's a lot more to it than what it just seems. So let's keep this running and try to make something here. Let's see. We're going to be making. Let's start with the stuff that is the most important, and that's this one. This will obviously be productivity module, and I'm going to be finding a way for a beacon to affect it. Let's take a beacon here and put that there. Good. So this is now being 166, which is enough to satisfy all of these if we can just get all of this inbound. It is doubtful though, because we need several of these inbound. So that one, and what if I did this? And that's going to be the plates here, and that's productivity and like this. How fast is this? It's still not even close. So let's throw in an extra beacon. Still not really getting there, but it's maybe getting us to the point where we are using 9.3, and we were sort of, the initial calculation said that if we have a full belt, 240 divided by 0.04, that's 4% of it, 9.6. So this is basically going to consume if this one was like full belt inbound, but it was consumed all the time. That's our objective, and that's what we designed it for. So this should be good, like that. Okay, and that will just be requested in here, and you're gonna need stone and holmium. That one and that one. Is this needing a lot of stone? No, not really. So that should be fine. But now we need some water though. So let's get another water plant down here. This will just be making exclusively water. There we go. And that goes up here, but it'll probably go to other places as well. But let's start with this location here. And then that just needs to get a requester in like that. This requester will be there. Alright, so now we have water. That's not the right water setup. This one. And this can also be productivity module. But it is not beaconed, which is way too slow. So I'm going to just put a random beacon down here. Maybe that will come in handy later on. So let's put that here. And now it's producing 600. Good. Are you producing something? Yes, you are. So let's get this out in a box. There. And we now see that that goes in. So that's one more thing that is ready to go for this up here. So that's that part. Now let's see. We also need to make the reinforced concrete. So let's use the water from here as well. That will be reinforced concrete. That's reinforced concrete there. And reinforced concrete, yes, we got that. Yes, we got this. Iron sticks we need to make. And we could make it in more complicated way, but that's not an option for us. So it'll have to be like this. It doesn't matter. We have plenty of iron, so this should not be a problem. And now here I need to get iron inbound, which we have, steel inbound, which we have, and concrete inbound, which we have. And then I just need this to go out somewhere in a box. Yeah. And this can't be sped up at all. It can just get those in here and get another beacon in here as well. There we go. That beacon will now also affect the rocket silo, which is fine, and this one will also be affected. So right now this looks good. We're getting a lot of this. This means that we should be able to get rid of all of this. This makes 30 per second. How much do we need up here? This one needs 18 per second. So even if this is nice and juicy, it's just not enough to get us there. So it's yeah, it'll be fine. I think that what we will see is that this one is using 61.8 concrete. Do we have 61.8 concrete if we go back to our original? Because I think concrete will be the bottleneck, ironically. It'll be concrete. If we look at our recipe, this one, then it's 6% concrete. So, and that means I have 240 coming in, and then it's 0.06 times 4 because it's productivity. That means I get 57.6 concrete if I consume a full belt. And that's my objective, is to consume a full belt. That means if they make this faster, it doesn't matter because I don't have enough concrete to make it faster. So this is going to set the bar for how fast it's going to go. And that means this will be the bottleneck. Yeah, go, 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 go. Right. Okay, so that's two things. That actually means that these are starting to work, which is glorious. And they start producing something. And you can see that what happens is that they get processed. Some of these... Oh, look at that. We actually got a little bit of... How about that? 38. Wow. We are already cruising. But we're not able to launch rockets, though. So that's the next thing. We do need to be able to launch rockets up here. So I'm going to take this one in, and that will be the rocket fuel stuff. So that's 100 of that. It is 100 of that. I do 100 because whatever. And it doesn't matter. It's stuck here. So 100. There we go. So clearly what we're missing is rocket fuel. Rocket fuel is a little bit annoying. We also have another issue, and that is I'm using 18.7 blue circuits. And if we look at blue circuits here again in this recipe, it's only 2%. That means 240 times 2% times 4 because of productivity. That's only 19. We are lacking blue circuits. So if we can, we should also put in some blue circuit build here. Yeah, and blue circuit build means sulfuric acid and sulfur and oil refining and all that crap. So that's a little bit complicated. So let's start in this corner somewhere and then work our way outwards. This is going to be the very modest here. And that will get... I'm just making it here because then we have it. That one. We'll get a... here-ish, right? Whatever. Somewhere like this. And then I need to get the refined. We're going to get heavy oil in. We can just get the heavy oil from down here. So that's not a problem. And heavy oil comes in. And that gets the light oil, which we're happy with. And then I also need light oil to go up here to make refined oil. There we go. That needs water on that side. Ugh, this is horrible. Oops. There. Let's get... Water has to go into this location. Yes. It also has to go into that location. Alright, so those are the water inputs, and then you have to go out. So you need to go out into a location such as this. And this will be making sulfur, which again needs water. There. We need to figure out how the water gets in here, but this is not much. Like, really, really low quantities. But you still need a big machine for it. And then we need to make sulfuric acid. There. And that also gets up here. Okay. And then maybe this thing here should actually be moved a lot further up, because couldn't it be made so that I can use this there? Yeah. And ta-da! Water is now completed. So we get water, we get sulfuric acid. So, okay. That I'm going to do in a weird way. Here. You need iron. You... Yeah, this one's just going to be making some iron gears, so we can request some iron gears in here. Let me request some iron gears in here. From a location. Let's get some gears in here. So that should be fine. There we go. And that's fine. This one's not working because it is misplaced. Water's fine. You're not fine. You're not fine. That's because you don't have this one yet. There. And as soon as we get this one in, which shouldn't be too hard to get, because literally everything around here is like that. Heavy oil comes in. Heavy oil is fine. These ones need to be beaconed. Yes. But they really don't need to be moduled, do they? I mean, I can always throw in a module, but this even then, it's gonna get so much. Right, so what we have now is this part done, and you're also gonna be making just 50? Yeah. And like that. Good. So now the only thing missing is we made the sulfuric acid, but we have to make the sulfuric acid for a purpose, and that purpose is of course blue circuits. So we can do that one. Well, that's one item inbound. So the other things we need inbound. The red ones, we just get those automatically, but the green ones, I am not so sure. I am not so sure about this. Here. Let me see if this fits. There, so I can go in. This. Here, and here. Okay. And of course these need productivity, and they are affected by beacons, so that's all happy and good. So now I just need to get stuff in here. And the funny thing is, why am I actually getting this in here when I could be... Do I even need this? This one just needs to make as much as possible. Oh, that's the rocket launching. I was so freaking out about, like, what the hell was that? You're also going to need some iron, so let me just do the same thing as I did previously. Let's just do this. There we go. I wonder if that's fast enough. It probably is. And I'm going to take this out for now, just trying to seeing if that would work, because we do have this in abundance. That works, and then I also need to get some red circuits, and then I need to get you output somewhere. Alright, let's get you just output into a box like this. Yeah, sure, just to keep working. So what I'm also going to do here with this is I'm going to draw stuff out. And yeah, the gears are not really working fast enough. Yeah, that's not really good enough. So let's do here. And if you do that one, that's fast enough. Ish. Oh yeah, it is. It's stacking. This one's fine. I could even go like this. Good. That works. So now we have an abundance of blue circuits as well, as much as we can. And this one is using 22.7 sulfuric acid. This one's producing 4.5 sulfuric acid, 4.5 thousand sulfuric acid if needed. Good. So this looks good. Now what I also need, because you can see the beacon, the modules, everything here is pretty busy. So let's throw in some extra here somewhere. And also down here as well. That one, and maybe like this. That looks good. So we get extra places for them to recharge. Right, what we've done now is we've built all this. There's one thing that we haven't actually taken into account, which is a fun thing, and that is, what about this stuff? Now, that is actually valuable stuff, but I'm not going to need it, so I'm going to destroy it, and that's maybe seems a little bit crazy, but that's what we're going to do. We're simply going to take and delete the legendary stuff, and there, and there. And the other legendaries. So now it's kind of important not to link it to everything else. You could save this for some rainy day or something like this, but the idea of this is that it has to be self-sufficient, and if it's self-sufficient, I can't allow it to be stacking up over time. It'll then fill up. So I have to make sure that everything that comes in is getting consumed. Right, so this seems to work. Let's let it run for a little bit. We can also see here that it's not running quite as fast as we'd like to, and that's really frustrating, to be honest. I also we see some concrete flowing out, which is, we then need to figure out why is it like this. Really, we shouldn't see concrete flowing out, because all the concrete should be coming in here. Maybe that actually needs to just be faster. This one is working all the time. It can't be any faster. So yeah, this is gonna get, this is the bottleneck, the reinforced concrete, and I can't make it any faster anyway, because this should be at a, if I look at this should be, somehow the logistic storage is a net positive. It really shouldn't be. So we'll just crank this one up here, and just make sure that there's always something in here. I think that over time we should be able to drain this down. But we'll just let it run for a little bit and then just see how it performs. This has now been running for quite a while, and well, there's a few tweaks that I've done. Well, one thing is that I'm not going to make any blue circuits unless I have low blue circuits, because otherwise I just make a lot of blue circuits for no reason. They should only be made to supplement, otherwise I recycle blue circuits here, and I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that only if I have more, only if I need more will I make them. So we don't want to recycle blue circuits at all. They suck to recirculate. So if I have this one crafting, then I'm gonna actually have some blue circuits recirculating up here. That's not good. Likewise, I've removed the productivity on this one because I actually want to consume as much solid fuel as possible, not as little as possible. Look at these chugging along, destroying legendary items. Nice. And aside from that, it's working fine. I've also built a little display here, which just takes the content of these 4 boxes plus the content of this, and then just summarizes and saying 675. So I don't even have enough to launch a single rocket yet, but it's getting there. One thing to note is that if you build this, if you do what I did and start sending it in before you're consuming everything, it actually reaches an error state that you can't really recover from, because there will be way too much low density structures accumulating in the system, and also gears accumulating in the system, and that will sort of be, when it tries to output it, it'll just generate more, and then it'll sort of not really be able to take new stuff in, and yeah, it'll just kind of slow down. So we really want to have it something like this, where it's just chugging along nicely, and the logistics storage, yep, there's a lot of logistics here, but the rest of them shouldn't really be getting too high. They will then be kept down so they don't run amok and fill up the boxes. This particular box here is likely to be overfilled because I can only sort of get it out with 1 stack inserter, and this one is busy, always busy. And there's sort of a sequence here of which direction or which item it comes out first. So you can see this is basically just busy with a few things. So will it ever get to the next one? That's the question, right? That is the question. We might actually have to sort of lower it, but this one might be running full, and so be it. It'll self-correct to a certain extent. So it works, and I've also built some other ones. So if we look on our map, we can look at some other things here. This one has been running for quite a while. So if we look at this logistics network, we can see that it has 94,000 Holmium plates. Yeah, it's good. And the rest of them are sort of manageable numbers. So it is definitely working. And this is going to be the blueprint, the design that we are completing today. Now all we need to do is make a ship that goes from Fulgora with pick up legendary Holmium plate and takes it over to Aquilo, and then next time we're going to be overhauling Aquilo to get some new cool city block based designs for science, so we can get, how much science do we need? We need 960 divided by 6. We need to get 160 legendary cryogenic science per second. So that's going to be the challenge in the next episode. And of course, the blueprints I'm making, they are available to patron supporters along with save games. So if you want to test it yourself and see how things work, then you can also just download the save game if you are a patron supporter, of course. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching and following along with this series. And we'll continue in the next episode with more Aquilo, and then some military, and then finally Promethium. We're also streaming this on Twitch, so come by on twitch.tv/Nilaus and drop by and have a look and be part of the design process. Until next time, take care and stay effective.